आज हम विटामिन डी के बारे में बात करेंगे। तो विटामिन डी को हम कोलेकैल्सिफेरॉल भी कहते हैं। और इससे पहले कि हम आज इसके बारे में जानें कि ये विटामिन डी क्या होता है, इसका एब्जॉर्प्शन कैसे होता है, इसका ट्रांसपोर्टेशन इन आवर बॉडी किस तरह से होता है, मैं अपने व्यूअर्स को और जितने मेरे स्टूडेंट्स हैं, जिन लोगों ने इस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब किया है और जो इस इनिशिएटिव को सराह रहे हैं, उनका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ। आई एम रियली थैंकफुल टू ईच एंड एवरी व्यूअर्स who likes my video and subscribes the channel. Because of your love, it gives me so much strength that I have to do hard work on and on. Okay, so let's move on to the today's topic. So cholecalciferol is not an active form of vitamin D, it is inactive form. So I want to highlight a very important characteristic of this particular molecule, that is cholecalciferol, that we called as hormone rather than vitamin. Why? Because there are so much similarity of this molecule as a hormone. तो उसके लिए जो one of the first similarity which is having that it can be synthesized inside the body. So जैसे कि हमें मालूम है कि जो हॉर्मोन्स होते हैं हमारी बॉडी के अंदर, वो बॉडी के अंदर ही सिंथेसाइज हो सकते हैं। ऑन द अदर हैंड अगर हम विटामिन की कोई भी डेफिनेशन देखते हैं तो उसमें हम ये देखेंगे कि these are all essential molecule or nutrients which cannot be synthesized in our body. But in this vitamin D case, that vitamin D can be synthesized in our body. So that is why it is more resembling towards the hormone. So it can be synthesized inside the body, or we can say animal cell specifically, right? The second thing which is very close to the hormone, that after the synthesis it has been secreted in the circulation. Again, this is a property of hormone that somewhere in our body, like a pituitary gland, thyroid gland, wherever it is produces, first it has to be synthesized in the cell and then it has to be circulated in the circulation or systemic circulation. The same thing happens in that vitamin D case also. And the third and most important part or similarity between vitamin D and the hormone, that it has a specific target cell or tissue, we can say. Again, it is a similarity between the hormone and that vitamin D. So on the basis of these three points, we can say that vitamin D can be said as a hormone. Vitamin D is nothing but a steroid hormone. I mean, it is a steroid vitamin. Vitamin. What does it mean? That it means that the formation or the synthesis of vitamin D in our body start from the cholesterol, right? Or we can say that if our body has synthesized vitamin D, so the molecule which starts the synthesis of vitamin D is nothing but a cholesterol. So that is why it is known as steroid vitamin. The first step in the synthesis of vitamin D, the cholesterol goes into the dehydrogenation and it will turn into 7-D-cholesterol. And cholesterol is changed into 7-dehydrocholesterol. After that process or dehydrogenation, under the influence of UV light or rays, it has been changed into cholecalciferol. It has been changed into cholecalciferol, which is a inactive form of vitamin D, which is nothing but a inactive form of vitamin D. So this is all about the synthesis of vitamin D inside the body, that it starts from the cholesterol, and there is a process of dehydrogenation occur which change cholesterol into 7-dehydrocholesterol, and when this molecule is formed under the influence of ultraviolet rays, that 7-dehydrocholesterol change into cholecalciferol, which is an inactive form of vitamin D. Now we will look how it gets active, right? What are the process and what are the different organ has been involved in the activation of vitamin D. So from this part it is sent to the liver, right? So the cholecalciferol is reaches into the liver, where there is an enzyme known as 25-hydroxylase, right? So there is an enzyme which is known as 25-hydroxylase, and what that enzyme do to that cholecalciferol in an active form of vitamin D, it add hydroxyl group on the 25th carbon of cholecalciferol, right? Hydroxylation occur in the cholecalciferol at the 25th position, and the cholecalciferol change into 25 hydroxy cholecalciferol. So the inactive form, that is cholecalciferol, synthesized in our skin under the influence of ultraviolet rays, has been transferred to the liver, where we have a very important enzyme, that is 25-hydroxylase. The function of this particular enzyme to add a hydroxyl, that is OH group, into the cholecalciferol at the 25th position, and the cholecalciferol is now changed into the 25-hydroxy cholecalciferol. But still that molecule is not active, and from there it has been transferred to, that molecule is transferred to, yes, kidney, where another hydroxylation occur in the presence of another very important enzyme. So we have 25-hydroxy cholecalciferol, and it has been transferred into kidney, where another enzyme, that is 1-alpha hydroxylase, is present, and it add another hydroxyl group, that is OH group, at the first position. So now we have 1,25 dihydroxy. So now we have two hydroxyl group, so that is why 1,25 dihydroxy cholecalciferol, which is an active form of vitamin D, which is nothing but an active form of vitamin D. Again, we can revise. We have cholesterol in our body, which is a precursor of synthesis of vitamin D. The first step that in cholesterol dehydrogenation occur, and it has been changed to 7-dehydroxycholesterol. Then under the influence of ultraviolet rays, it is change into cholecalciferol, which is an inactive form. Then from there it has to be active. Without activation it cannot be work. So it has been transferred to the liver, where cholecalciferol in the presence of 25 hydroxylase has been changed into 25 hydroxycholecalciferol. But for the activation of vitamin D, we need another adding of hydroxyl group, which is done in the kidney under the influence of 1 alpha hydroxylase at the position of first carbon, right? So now it has been changed into 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol, which is a active form of vitamin D. Now, what is the function of vitamin D? You know that it regulates the metabolism or plasma concentration of calcium and phosphorus in the body. So after the activation of vitamin D, it has work on intestine to increase the absorption of calcium and phosphorus, mineralization, that is calcium and phosphorus deposition in bone, right? Now coming to the sources of vitamin D. So as far as the vitamin D is concerned, it can be get from natural source, so in our diet, or it can be synthesized in body. So it can also be get from the artificial source. It is irradiation of plant sterol, ergosterol, which is a form of vitamin D2. It is known as vitamin D2. Now coming to the absorption and transportation of vitamin D. Insertion and transportation. So obviously it has to be absorbed with lipids, right, as it is a fat soluble vitamin. So the absorption occur in intestine, right? The intestinal epithelial cell change the absorbed fat into the chylomicron, and it has to be transported to the liver. So the absorption occurred in the form of micelle, right? And what are the chylomicron? How it form the chylomicron? Chylomicron is formed in the endoplasmic reticulum of intestinal epithelium, and we all know that micelle is a fat bubble which absorb in the intestine, and after the processing in the epithelial cell it has been changed into the chylomicron, which is nothing but a processed lipids, right? Processed lipid, free fatty acids, triglyceride, they contain lipoprotein, which is formed into the endoplasmic reticulum, and then it is delivered into the liver. So the main function of vitamin D is to regulate the calcium and phosphorus metabolism. Now, how that important function done in our cell? And obviously when it is related to the metabolism of calcium and phosphorus, it maintain the plasma level of calcium, right? So now how that metabolism is done with, so it involve three important organ, that is intestine and kidney and bone. With first is intestine. So the major part of vitamin D, that it increases calcium absorption. What it does, ये क्या करता है? It increases the calcium absorption, right? How? By making calcium binding protein more and more. किस तरह से करता है ये? By making or synthesize calcium binding protein. इसको समझने के लिए हम एक बहुत छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, दिस इज अ intestinal epithelium. So for absorption of calcium, we need a protein which is known as calcium binding protein. So what actually vitamin D is done in these cells? It act, and so what actually vitamin D does to these epithelial cell? It makes, or it send the signal of receptor inside the cell and sending the signal to DNA for producing more and more calcium binding protein. तो अगर हमारे पास ज़्यादा calcium binding protein होगा तो हमारे पास क्या होगा? अगर हमारे पास ज़्यादा calcium binding protein होगा तो हम ज़्यादा calcium इससे bind कर सकते हैं और हम ज़्यादा calcium absorb कर पाते हैं. So by increasing the synthesis of calcium binding protein under the influence of vitamin D, calcium will be absorbed more and more in number. And now the second organ which is work under the influence of vitamin D is kidney. So what they do in kidney, it decreases excretion of calcium and phosphorus, right, and increases reabsorption of calcium and phosphorus. Very simple, right? So now we will move to the third organ, that is bone. So the calcitrol has both the effect on the bone, that is anabolic effect and catabolic effect. So catabolic effect on bone, that it increase the mineralization, right? How? That increase the calcium and phosphorus deposition in the bone, right? On the other hand, the catabolic effect of calcitrol is that with the help of parathyroid hormone, the catabolic effect of calcitrol with parathyroid hormone, that it mobilize the calcium and phosphorus from the bone if the plasma calcium level is decreases, right? Now coming to the clinical manifestation of vitamin D deficiency. So since the childhood, we all know that if anyone having a vitamin D deficiency, तो सबसे जो common disorder हमारे जहन में वो है Rickets, yes, right, in growing children. Or we can say that Rickets is said to be a person if that deficiency occur before closure of epiphyseal plate. And the second disorder due to the vitamin D deficiency is osteomalacia. Osteomalacia in adult, right? So these are the two most common disorder which is due to the vitamin D deficiency. Renal rickets. So why by the name itself we can understand that it is something related to the kidney. So as we all know, the activation, when the activation of vitamin D occur, it involves two important organ, and one of the organ is kidney. So if anybody is having chronic kidney disease, right, अगर किसी इंसान को किडनी से रिलेटेड डिजीज है या किडनी फेलियर है, so obviously that activation of vitamin D cannot be occur, that the second hydroxylation of first carbon atom of cholecalciferol 25 cholecalciferol cannot be done. तो अगर उसको किडनी डिसऑर्डर है, कोई फेलियर है, so vitamin D deficiency will be occur. Right. Because of this we have hypocalcemia. तो अगर किसी को क्रोनिक किडनी डिसऑर्डर है, उसकी वजह से विटामिन डी एक्टिवेट नहीं हो पाएगा और वो प्लाज्मा कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ कैल्शियम मेंटेन नहीं कर सकता, राइट? तो इस कंडीशन में अगर कोई पेशेंट है तो हम उसको किस तरह से ट्रीट कर सकते हैं? वी जस्ट गिव एक्टिवेटेड विटामिन डी. वी जस्ट treat that particular patient by giving activated vitamin D. Very simple. IV or oral. किसी भी तरह से हम इसको दे सकते हैं और आसानी से इसको ट्रीट कर सकते हैं. विटामिन डी रेजिस्टेंस रिकेट्स. विटामिन डी रेजिस्टेंट रिकेट्स due to defective vitamin D receptor. अगर किसी को रिसेप्टर ही उसके डिफेक्टिव हैं, जेनेटिकली राइट एबनॉर्मल है, सो इट कैन नॉट बी बाइंड इन द इंटेस्टाइनल म्यूकोज इंटेस्टाइनल एपिथेलियम एंड that person cannot produce enough calcium binding protein and calcium cannot be absorbed. It also can be done if anybody having a problem with 1-alpha hydroxylase or in liver 25 hydroxylase enzyme. तो जो रेजिस्टेंस हो सकती है वो मल्टीपल लेवल पर हो सकती है. किसी भी एंजाइम में कोई जेनेटिकली म्यूटेशन हो जाए जो कि रिस्पॉन्सिबल है दैट पर्टिकुलर एंजाइम को सिंथेसिस करने में या इसको करने में, तो हमें फिर कितना भी आप उसको विटामिन डी देते रहें लेकिन उसको कोई काम नहीं आएगा. नाउ द लास्ट पार्ट इज हाइपर विटामिन. जैसे हमको मालूम है कि जो भी ज़्यादातर फैट सॉल्युबल विटामिन होते हैं, क्योंकि ये स्टोर हो जाते हैं हमारी बॉडी में, तो अगर ज़्यादा क्वांटिटी में स्टोर हो जाएं तो ये हाइपर विटामिनोसिस प्रोड्यूस करते हैं, राइट? हाइपर विटामिनोसिस. और इसके कुछ क्लिनिकल सिम्टम आते हैं जिससे कि हम ये बता सकते हैं कि इस पर्सन में किसी ना किसी तरह की हाइपर विटामिनोसिस हो रही है. सो इन दैट विटामिन डी हाइपर विटामिनोसिस द सिम्टम्स वुड बी nausea, vomiting, joint pain, of weight, क्योंकि अगर ज़्यादा विटामिन होगा तो हमारा जो कैल्शियम प्लाज्मा कैल्शियम लेवल है वो भी ज़्यादा रहेगा, जिसकी वजह से क्या होगा, रिकरेंट रीनल स्टोन मिल सकते हैं किसी पेशेंट। एंड द नेक्स्ट इज दैट calcification of soft tissue in body can be occur. So these are the clinical features which we get in hypervitaminosis: nausea, vomiting, joint pain, loss of weight, recurrent renal stone and calcification. अब हम बढ़ते हैं, what are the richest source of vitamin D. So the richest source of vitamin D is cod liver oil, and it can be very easily synthesized by our skin. Can also be found in animal livers. And the RDA, what is the RDA of vitamin D? It is 200 to 400 international unit. So this is all about the vitamin D biochemistry. I hope that you will enjoy today's lecture, and if you have any questions you can ask me in the comment box. और अगर आपको आज की वीडियो अच्छी लगी हो तो आप चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें, वीडियो को लाइक करें और इस वीडियो को ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा अपने दोस्तों के साथ शेयर करें। थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग। अगले वीडियो में जल्द मुलाकात होगी।